If you work with industrial, pneumatics, or hydraulics, and you're in need of maintenance or repair, you need the right connection. For over 20 years, Hose Connections in Hammond has been the premier leader in the hydraulics industry. Hose Connections is a one-stop shop for sales and service of pneumatics and hydraulics. Hose Connections continues to grow their network of industry contacts, which allows them to meet even your toughest expectations. To learn more, visit HoseConnectionsInc.com. Hose Connections in Hammond. Proven under pressure.
Hello, welcome back. You're watching the Region Sports Network Week 1 halftime show here with Doug Ashenbaugh, Mike Shamia, and Justin Cole is producing. Doug, how are we feeling right now? We're halfway through Week 1 of the football season.
There's a lot of good games out there. There's a couple unfortunate, lopsided games a little bit. Some that we expected, some maybe a little shocking. But right now, there's some exciting football being played.
Yeah, a lot of exciting football being played right now. We'll give you score updates on those that we have scores for, especially those that aren't games that we're broadcasting right now, because I'm sure as you're tuning in, you're probably looking for scores of games that we don't broadcast, or else you would be in those broadcasting games, the games that we're broadcasting currently right now. But we'll lead off with a game that we do have a broadcast for, and that is Andrean, as they have gone on the road to travel against the Maryville Pirates. That game is an audio broadcast that we have, and so if you're not in that game right now and you're tuning into us right now and you want to know, it is 14-0 at half. That's what we have there. Maryville leading. They were leading this game 8-0 at one point, and now it's 14-0 at half.
Yeah, first quarter 8-0 Maryville, and they scored again in the second. I mean, Andrean's 59ers defense playing very well. They are holding Maryville's offense. A couple big plays obviously led down to some scoring drives that took place. Offense struggling though a little bit right now. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to find their identity and what can work and what can't work. But props obviously to Maryville Pirates defense too as well. But again, Andrean's defense is holding pretty well. I mean, you're still down 14-0 at half. You make some adjustments at halftime. You come back out. 2 scores is very, very manageable to come back into the second half. You got to find that offensive rhythm, find those things that are going to work for you, make those adjustments. It should still be a pretty good game coming down here to the wire. But yeah, Maryville currently up right now, like you said, 14-0.
Yeah, if Andrean can score early in the third, make it a one-score game going into the fourth, like you mentioned, there's still a lot of game left to be played and a lot more games that we have for you too. So we'll get right to that. South Bend Riley, they lead 19-0 against Bishop Knoll.
Of course, yeah. And one of the Hammond teams traveling down to South Bend right now. My pick was Bishop Knoll, to kind of win this game. Again, you're at halftime. This is the first week. You're trying to find things that are going to work. You're going to make adjustments at halftime too as well. Very manageable to still be in this game, pull out a win. Just a few scores down. South Bend doing very well. You may be seeing a little bit of that struggle, a little bit of lag from traveling quite far for the Bishop Knoll. But again, they're still in the game, scoreless. Got to find some offensive momentum, but very manageable to still get back into this game.
And our next game, we talked about this one during our kickoff show, our pregame, as one of the huge rivalries. It still is, but man, the Griffith Panthers winning 35-0 at half over the Highland Trojans.
They are. And I talked about the Griffith Panthers, like you said, in our kickoff show, and I think this team has been a little underrated, in the region and what they're starting to bring, and they're showing it right now. I mean, they went up 14-0 in the first quarter. They had a huge second quarter there. I mean, the short passing game for the Griffith Panthers looks extremely, extremely well. What that's doing is it's setting up the run game. It's setting up the play action game then after that. Short passing game is looking very, very strong. Again, like I said, 21 points in the second quarter. They had a turnover too as well that took place in there. Their defense is playing lights out. A lot of 3 plays and out for Highland, and they're not catching their offensive rhythm again. First week they're trying to find it, but right now the Panthers have jumped all over them, and that offense looks electric so far for the Panthers.
And you talked about Griffith, and during our kickoff, our pregame show, you talked about all of that energy that Phil Mason is bringing to Griffith and really revitalizing this program. And you've talked a lot about the offseason, and we were talking about how coaching makes such a big difference, especially week 1. Do you anticipate that this is something that is going to be evident for the whole season, or do you foresee some troubles kind of along the way this year for Griffith, and how do you anticipate them responding to those?
I think, every team's going to see some troubles, but again, as you talk about coaching, it's Phil Mason has a very strong past with being able to overcome those struggles and handling those struggles and getting his team prepared. So sure, I think there's going to be some struggles along the way, but I think they're going to be minor speed bumps versus what we've seen kind of in the past where they're a little bit larger speed bumps and they kind of go on a couple game losing streaks that they see there. I don't think we're going to see that from the Griffith Panthers here. Going to have some struggles, sure, but I think Phil Mason really has this team going. I know it's week 1, but we've talked about it. They've been going ever since the end of last season, and I think they're going to continue to roll, and sure, minor speed bumps, but I think they're going to be able to overcome them.
That's a good point. They could keep this train rolling, and as we roll on with this show, we have Chesterton. They lead 21-3 against the number 8 Hobart Brickies at half.
Yeah, absolutely, and Chesterton's been doing a very, very good job with bottling up Willie Scher, not really being able to get much going with him in the run game. But that defense is very, very strong looking right now. Chesterton's offense has been explosive too as well. When you flip it over to there, they've had a couple very big plays that were deep down the field that really helped them set up into their scoring drive there. That has really kind of put Hobart on their toes there, and backs kind of against the wall a little bit, playing short down distance or against the goal line there. And Chesterton's been really capturing those opportunities. But that offense right now is looking very, very well. Their play action passing looked good. That set up I think it was like a 35-yard pass down the field that put them in scoring position. And Hobart is it's a new system, new coach. They kind of got to find their way too as well. Again, you're only down 18 going into the half. It's a few scores. Hey, if Chesterton can score 21.5, so can you. Kind of mentality. They're going to make some adjustments, come out stronger in the second half, definitely. But that offense for Chesterton's been looking very strong in the first half.
And our next game, John Glenn Falcons, they lead the Boone Grove Wolves 6-3, and Boone Grove number 10 on the RSN top 10.
Absolutely. We talked about this is going to be a very a tough matchup. I think it's kind of going back and forth. And as you say, obviously, 6-3 is a very low scoring game. Very, very good defensive play that's happening out there. Again, 3-point game going into half. And if you get the kind of same defense, who's going to come up with that big turnover, I think is what's going to come down to in this game, is who can make that key turnover or get a key takeaway late into the game and set up their team to be in a short field kind of position, in that scoring position to kind of take the lead there. I think that's what that's going to come down to over at Boone Grove. And again, my prediction was Boone Grove to kind of sneak by. I said it was going to be close, so I think it's still going to be close, and I still think Boone Grove takes this one.
Yeah, Boone Grove can find pay dirt, then
Absolutely.
Your prediction can pay off. So our next game, New Prairie, they are the home team in this one against the LaPorte Slicers, and they are leading 21-7 at half.
Yeah, 2 scores, LaPorte is down. And again, we talked about New Prairie and how well they have been for many years now, obviously. Again, coming out strong, week 1. Defense is playing very, very well, especially against a very good offense for the LaPorte Slicers. Again, what can you make? What adjustments can you make at halftime that's going to come out and kind of set your team up for success? LaPorte's got to be able to find that rhythm on offense. If you can get down, come out at half, get a nice, good scoring drive, get a 3 and out. I think that's going to be key for LaPorte to be able to kind of turn this second half around. But New Prairie is looking very, very strong with that offense right now in the first half.
Matt, they are, and another team that's looking very strong in the first half is the number 1 Crown Point Bulldogs, as they lead the Lowell Red Devils 35-0 at half.
I will eat that one. Unfortunately, Noah Ehrlich looks very, very good. I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns already. 3 of them already came in the first quarter with it. And then you got Larry Ellison, obviously, with an 11-yard touchdown run that took place too as well. And the defense, a lot, listening to that audio too as well here in the studio, a lot of first down plays for Lowell have been negative yardage. And when you start negative yardage after your first play, it's very tough to kind of get that drive going. And they've been in a lot of 3rd and longs or 2nd and longs as well too. When you do that, that defense has reloaded. You lose Will Clark, and everyone says, "Hey, what's the linebacking crew going to be like?" Well, I can tell you, Mark Gonzalez at that defensive tackle spot, all-conference defensive tackle, is looking extremely, extremely well, forcing a fumble there late in the second quarter, and he recovered the fumble on top of it, which led to a last-second, field goal for them, going up 38-0 at the end of the half. But man, that defense just looks extremely stout this year. They reloaded. They're not rebuilding over there.
Yeah, and when you talk about Crown Point's defense, and you mentioned specifically the interior part of their defensive line. Would you say that in losing Clark, the linebacker, that they not had a change of an identity defensively, but it's one of those things where is it a matter of Coach Bazia just getting the very most out of the roster that he has, and that this team is going to be, obviously it seems very good, right? But they're going to look a little bit differently this year?
They will, and another thing, listening to as well is Crown Point's rushing 3 down linemen. That means you got a nose guard, and depending on how your edges are, if you have D ends or if they're true D tackles, nonetheless, as you're rushing 3 linemen and your very first, play on first down for Lowell, and they're getting negative yardage, like you are getting pressure with 3 down linemen. So linebacking crew does look very well. It was very good last year, and we know that. And as you're talking about kind of switching, I think they are getting a lot out of their roster. And it leads with Mark Gonzalez, that D tackle there. But if you're rushing 3 linemen and you're getting negative plays and you're getting pressure on the quarterback quite frequently, that goes to show you what this D line is truly about. And it may be more of a D line kind of crew over there this year for Crown Point versus linebacking crew, though very good still. I think the D line is kind of really leading that charge for the defense.
Okay. Absolutely. Very interesting to see what Crown Point does this season. They're the number 1 team in the land for a reason. The Warsaw Tigers, they are hosting the number 6 Michigan City Wolves, and the Michigan City Wolves find themselves with a 14-7 lead at half.
Yeah, they are. They're doing well defensively. I talked about that kind of option that Warsaw likes to run. Another bad thing, though, that can happen sometimes when you don't have those quick scores out of that option is you take up a lot of clock. And right now, if the defense can get a couple stops against your offense and you don't have much time to work with, obviously it's kind of hard to come back, when playing from down. And Michigan City, on the opposite hand, scoring twice, getting their athletes out into the open field, making plays against their defense. If they can continue to kind of bottleneck up that option offense that they have over Warsaw, it's going to be tough to come down. You eat up a lot of clock with that. So Michigan City in the second half, they could play some very well defense, bottle that back up. I think, again, as I predicted in the kickoff show, they come out with a win.
Lake Central Indians, they are at home against the Munster Mustangs, and Lake Central leads 17-0 at half.
Yeah, predicted you in the kickoff show. I think Lake Central is just a little bit too much, unfortunately, with that high-power offense that they have. We normally see very explosive offense from the Lake Central Indians. We're seeing it again week 1, starting off very, very strong. Defense posting a goose egg, too, as well, currently right now. Again, they play in a very tough conference, the DAC, right? The 5-6 record last year doesn't really show exactly what, this team is and continuing to be. And again, they jumped off the bat. They're holding on. Defense can continue to play well. The offense is going to score over there for Lake Central.
Speaking of pitching a shutout through half, our next 2 games actually are, pitching shutouts at halftime. The first one is Calumet. They're at home, and they lead this one over Osceola Grace 12-0.
Yeah, Osceola Grace is playing well defensively, though, still. Really kind of, checking in that Calumet Warriors offense there. But nonetheless, 12-0. Defensive side playing ball. We don't talk so much defense normally when we talk about Calumet. We talk about kind of explosive plays and exciting scores and things like that. They're playing well defensively, too, as well, with that goose egg, like you said. But I think, Calumet is playing well. Week 1, make some adjustments at halftime. They're going to come out strong again in the second half and hold on for this win.
And another similar score, the Kankakee Valley Cougars lead 10-0 over the Rensselaer Central Bombers at halftime.
KV playing well. And again, I talked about it again, in the kickoff show. Rensselaer Central is a very rich, traditional, powerful football team down there, and KV's holding very, very well right now. And when you could post a goose egg for your offense, they're relaxed a little bit more. That playbook may open up slightly a little bit more. You may try some of those plays that you wouldn't when you're down or tied up that are a little bit more riskier. So right now, though, KV's playing very, very well. Got a score and a field goal, obviously. Again, it's all about halftime adjustments. Can you keep that defense holding the goose egg? It's very, very hard to get a 0 throughout the entire game when both teams are making adjustments. But I think KV still hangs on to this one. They're playing well and get a couple more scores and come out with a victory.
Yeah, and speaking of making adjustments and whatnot, in this next game, it's been a back-and-forth game. Both coaching staffs, really keyed in on this one as they do every year, and that's that true battle of the North that we talked about in the pregame. The Valparaiso Vikings, the number 3 team in the RSN top 10, they trail the Penn Kingsmen 21-14 at halftime.
Yeah, they were up at one time too as well in this game. Again, it's just kind of battle of the heavyweights. They're going to be swinging back and forth on each other, and Valpo took the lead. Penn takes the lead. What does the second half bring? I think it's going to be the same thing. They're going to be going back and forth. It's going to come down to who can make a big play, rather it be bust over the top and kind of bring that momentum back, or who makes a big play on defense, who can get that turnover, who can step up for their team. And I think that's what it's going to come down to. It's going to be back and forth punches between these two. Who makes that big play, rather it be the defense or the offense when you get down to it, is what I feel is going to happen. But I'm still staying strong with my Valpo Vikings over here. I think they're going to pull out a win.
Yeah, I mean, they are in a good position as of now. As you mentioned, they only trail by 7 at halftime. And, they certainly have the roster and the coaching staff and the know-how and the experience to pull off a victory in the second half as they've done countless times in the last few years.
Yes.
So that will be an interesting one to pay attention to. Also, one game has gone final. That is the West Side Cougars, and they go on the road to Indianapolis, and they defeat the Indianapolis-Washington Continentals 38-0.
Yeah, high-powered offense of what I talked about. They can make plays. They can make plays out of nothing sometimes that you see. They have some very good athletes there, very, very explosive athletes that really, they shine in open field too as well. It's very tough for a defense. To broken plays is the thing I think of. You're right. You have broken plays sometimes, and man, it's electric to watch that offense and how well they can do. And they showed up tonight. Obviously, the defense played very well. I said it's very hard to get a goose egg for 4 quarters. That defense played lights out and got a goose egg on the night, and their offense showed up at the same time, scoring 38 points. That's a great game by Westside Cougars traveling down.
Yeah, and in our last game here in the halftime show that we'll give you a scoreboard update for is the Wheeler Bearcats, the number 9 team in the land. They go on the road to Hanover Central, the number 4 team. So a 9 versus 4, Wheeler versus Hanover Central. And Hanover Central leads this one by 10, 24-14 at halftime.
It was. And again, Wheeler was up at one point in this, and I think Hanover was kind of trying to figure some things out, getting the first week jitters out of there, kind of settling into what they were doing defensively. And, one big play that came off was a big interception for Hanover Central over midfield that set them up at midfield. I mean, when you're playing short field, it's a lot easier than having to drive 60, 70, 80 yards versus 40 and 50. So, again, defense stepped up. They started settling in a little bit. They were understanding kind of what Wheeler was trying to run, and they were able to get that big interception. And then, obviously, it was tied up 14-14 for a few drives with that. And it was kind of a defensive battle there, and then Hanover Central's offense started to break out a little bit. And then you started seeing that Hanover Central offense that we're used to, kind of explosive, big plays being made, and ultimately led to a 10-point lead going into half. Can Wheeler make the adjustments? I feel they can. They played very well. They had a couple breakdowns that took place. You kind of tweak those, and I think my pick could still be out there for the Wheeler, but Hanover started settling down, and you started seeing why Hanover has been playing very well over the past few years and rolling into week 1.
Yeah, and as these games roll on, we'll see teams settle into kind of what they've prepared for, right? It's one of those things where oftentimes the victory is earned before you step on the field, right? And it's who's had a great summer, who's had a great off season, who's prepared the best, all those things. So now we're kind of seeing it at the halftime show. These scores are coming in, and we're seeing kind of, okay, so these are how these teams are starting, and we'll see kind of how things level out in the rest of this evening. So thank you for tuning in to the RSN Week 1 halftime show. I'm Mike Jamia, alongside me, Doug Ashenbaugh, Justin Cole, the producer of this one. Stay tuned. Remember, we have games. We have 3 games going on. We have an audio broadcast for Endrain and Maryville. We have a video broadcast for Hobart and Chesterton. And we have another audio broadcast between Crown Point and Lowell. So stay tuned to those. After those games go final, you can come back here and find yourself for a great post-game show. So we'll see you in a bit. You're watching the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
If you work with industrial, pneumatics, or hydraulics, and you're in need of maintenance or repair, you need the right connection. For over 20 years, Hose Connections in Hammond has been the premier leader in the hydraulics industry. Hose Connections is a one-stop shop for sales and service of pneumatics and hydraulics. Hose Connections continues to grow their network of industry contacts, which allows them to meet even your toughest expectations. To learn more, visit HoseConnectionsInc.com. Hose Connections in Hammond. Proven under pressure.